What's good, everybody? It's your boy Billy. We back at it again. Another week, another sample tutorial. This week we gonna look at how I do bouncy R&B, those summer vibes. Let's get into it. So starting off first, I got this kind of chord progression from Splice that I found. Something real simple. I think it was a part of like a bigger thing, and I just kind of took this one piece from it. You know, Splice, you might have like a sample pack, and this is like one part of the bigger kind of melody or the stack or something. I just took this one part because I thought these chords were really cool. The effects that I'm putting on this one, just EQing my highs and my lows, really just getting the bulk of the sound. Also just taking another dip in the kind of mid to low mid section and putting on a little bit of transient master. Okay, for our next sound from Analog Labs, after I kind of reworked the chords a little bit, pretty much got down to a simple G minor 7th into a D minor 7th. And I'm just running those two chords back. And the sound that I'm using from Analog Labs, Fake preset. Let's hear what this sounds like. And for my presets, all I'm really doing is just taking out the highs and lows from this sound. I thought it was a little bit too bright, and also wanted to kind of remove the low end so it didn't conflict with my bass sound. Our next sound is from Sky Keys, presets called Beautiful Roads. What I wanted from this one is just kind of like that actual strumming effect that you get when you actually play the piano. And again, my presets for this is pretty similar, cutting out the highs and the lows. In this case, also doing a cut in the low mids and kind of boosting my treble sounds. So let's take a look at my main sounds all together. So my main goal is to really just create a nice little soundscape to kind of build upon. For my kind of main bed, I didn't want to do anything too crazy because some of my other instruments and my other elements are kind of giving you that bounce and that good summer vibe. So for our next element, let's get into our vocal chops. And I pretty much repeat those three. My presets for my vocals, EQ, throwing some rev spring on there, nice little chorus effect, another EQ, and then ending off with a transient master. Also putting these in mono, and I'm not doing anything to the individual vocal samples themselves. I'm just kind of leaving them dry as they come in and then affecting them all together. For our next element, we have a guitar lead and also a guitar wah. So a pretty simple guitar sample. Chopped it up a little bit in certain places just to keep it interesting because it's going to be played throughout the entire sample. But for my presets here, we're just taking out the lows and boosting the mids, throwing a little bit of reverb on there, and another EQ to kind of brighten it up a little bit. Next, let's take a look at our texture bed. Not much to talk about with me and my texture beds. Really just like to keep them low and just keep a nice kind of healthy fuzz or some healthy noise in the background for a lot of my samples. All right, next let's look at our bass line, where we're kind of really getting half of our bounce from. Our bounce is really gonna come from our bass line and our drums. Let's take a look at what our bass sounds like. The bass has a really nice bounce to it, and I'm also kind of doing this lick right here just to keep it interesting, but it's real simple, but it really drives the entire sample forward. Let's take a look at the effects for my bass. All right, next let's take a look at our bass effects. What I'm doing for my regular bass sound, just taking out the highs and cutting out the very low frequencies, and then also doing a little bit of a boost in the bass and a little bit of a cut in the low mids. I am doing parallel compression, so I'm routing my original bass into another channel, and then both of those sounds are going into the bass bus where I'm compressing it to kind of merge those sounds together. But on my parallel compression chain, instead of just a compressor, I'm also adding some R bass and decapitator, and along with the compressor. Like I said, both those channels are routing back into my bass bus, where I'm throwing on a Pultec EQ and a compressor to kind of merge those sounds together, and also throwing a soft clipper on there as well. Now let's take a look at our drums, which is gonna be the second part of what kind of creates that bouncy vibe in your sample. And let's look at some of the effects for my kick. A few EQs on here just to kind of really dial it in. Also a Pultec, I wanted to kind of hit a little bit harder. And also doing a DBX 160 compressor for my hi-hats. Just a little dip in the treble section. Sometimes I don't really like how bright hi-hats can be, so I just kind of tune it down a little bit. Not necessarily the same for my open hi-hats, it's really just removing the low end so it doesn't bleed into the bass. And lastly, for my snare sound, there's actually 2 snares that I'm putting in one. Just taking out the low end and also doing some adjustments that I feel like was needed. All right, now let's talk buses and our master effect. For my drum bus, I'm just taking out the very, very low end. I'm actually not routing my kick into my drum bus. I'm only routing my hi-hats and my snare, and then compressing all the sounds just to kind of glue it all together. Also putting a soft clipper on there as well. Sometimes I'll put my kick in the drum bus. Sometimes I'll leave it alone because sometimes I feel like the kick within the drum bus and the compression doesn't really work as well as it can, especially with some types of like R&B vibes that you're really trying to do. So I'll kind of like really work on the kick by itself and then drive it into my master effects. And now let's look at our main bus, which are essentially our Sky keys, our analog lab, and our splice sample, and also our guitar and vocals, and as well as our textures, all into one bus. And right here, I'm just taking a dip in the low mids. Really want the singer to kind of have that pocket to have their voice there. Throwing some radiator on just to kind of boost it overall. Compressing the sound to glue it all together, and also throwing a soft clipper on there as well. And now I'm taking all 3 of those buses and routing into my master channel, where I'm doing what I usually do, put on a Pultec EQ, SSLG glue bus compressor, tape J37 from Arturia, a parametric EQ, and a soft clipper. Alright, so now that we've looked at all the elements that incorporates this sample, let's go ahead and listen to the full thing.